I wrote. And this one was published, it was compiled by people who took a lot of my writings, a lot of my articles that I wrote for Unity magazine, and put it into this book. It's a classic Unity book. It also contains at the very end a chapter called Myrtle Fillmore Talks About Her Life. And so I thought I'd tell you a little bit of my life story for those of you who don't know me. I was born into a family in Ohio who had for generations been members of the church. They were God-fearing people. So I was carefully reared in a Christian atmosphere. But I found that my dear ones did not have an understanding of God who ruled in their lives that satisfied me. My mother was a very spiritual woman. She always kept the principles of right and love before us by her own example. She accepted the church creed and had such a devotional spirit that she felt that if her God saw fit to punish or to do any of the many things that were attributed to God, he must have a reason for it, and it was all right. I have marveled that my mother, my wonderful mother, who loved so devotedly, could have worshiped a God who punished or took the lives of his children. I remember my school days and my eagerness to read and learn what others knew. I always wanted to read the books that were supposed to be for the boys and the grown-ups that little girls were not supposed to be reading. So I had to take my brother's books quietly and go secretly to a little corner to enjoy them. I really liked the old myths, the fairy tales, histories, and scientific works. I have found that those stories and the visions of scientists of those days and of hundreds of years ago all have to do with our present-day life. I also like to read books which were filled with symbol and allegory. I've since learned these were the efforts of the authors to picture the experiences of the human soul. I also dearly loved poets, and I like to write rhymes. I delighted in getting out in the garden or walking in the woods. I loved to touch a tree and felt that it was truly intelligent. I received something very satisfying from my close contact with nature. I know now that I was feeling and responding to the omnipresent Spirit of God. As I grew older, I continued to be happy with my books and the lovely things of the outdoors, and I kept on with my learning and eventually became a teacher. I was sent to a school down south, which was quite a cultural adjustment for a Yankee from Ohio. And then, because my health was not very good, I moved to Texas, and there I met Mr. Fillmore. Mr. Fillmore was determined that I was his spiritual partner. I wasn't so sure about that, but I guess I couldn't argue with him. All the while that I was with Mr. Fillmore, we were married, but our health was not very good. And we suffered from a consciousness of lack. We struggled hard. We did have 3 children whose health was also not very good. And all the while I kept feeling that there was a way of life which would be discovered that would ensure happiness, health, and plenty. We finally had an opportunity to investigate spiritual science. And after a while in this investigation, I was convinced that God would not create a world in which sickness, sorrow, and lack had a part. God revealed to me that my body was intelligent, that I could direct it and praise it, and it would respond. I just assumed that God was hearing me and answering my prayers. He was giving me his life, substance, and intelligence, and I was to use them even more freely than I had used the blessings my earthly father had given me. I did not get entirely well and strong all at once, but after a time, I became filled with the life and the truth of who God was. I kept holding that God, my Father, was my health and strength. Along with tubercular trouble in my lungs, I had disorders through the abdominal walls. Because this abdominal trouble had a definite cause in the realm of my own mental attitudes, it was necessary for me to grow in understanding and to make definite changes to bring about healing. The trouble did not respond to ordinary faith and prayer. I finally asked the Lord just why it was that I did not get well. I explained that I had gone all through my consciousness to see what it was that held me, and that I had tried to find the fault. Spirit said to me, "You have looked among your faults. Now look among your virtues." I thought that was strange, but soon it came to me that I had tried to keep my feelings to myself, taking great pride in the fact that I never let anyone know how I felt, or that when anything hurt me or displeased me. I discovered that I did not feel as sweet and poised on the inside as I seemed outwardly. I began to watch and to redeem this state of mind. I determined to handle all that came to me before I, quote, swallowed it and allowed it to cut, irritate, and weaken my nerves and organs. As I gained real poise and the ability to keep my thoughts and feelings truly free, I was healed and restored to strength and normal functioning. I think most of us have heard that Myrtle, healed herself of tuberculosis, and she did it through continuous prayer and meditation, affirmations, and denials. She had a strong statement of belief that she would say every day, and several times a day sometimes. "I do not believe in evil, I believe in good. I do not believe in sin, I believe in truth. I do not believe in want, I believe in abundance. I do not believe in death, I believe in life. I do not believe in ignorance, I believe in intelligence. There are no discords in my being. Being is peace. My faith, understanding, and love are becoming one. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder." Part of Myrtle Fillmore's belief system was she did not believe in the Christian beliefs that had been taught to her as a child. The idea that only certain people were going to be approved by God, and only if they believed certain ways, left her pretty cold. She really believed that there is a God's spirit within each and every person. Like our daily word today was talking about, every single person has the light that shines forth in them. Every single person is a divine being. And that when we are seeing them wrongly and seeing them as something other than children of God, we are mistaken. She believed firmly in the idea that the Native Americans proclaimed. I'll read a little bit from this second book, The Unity Movement, which has a great chapter about Myrtle. While Myrtle adopted a Christian perspective, she was often at odds with the teachings of Protestantism and Catholicism. Her alienation from traditional Christianity was evident in a comparison she made between Christian ideas on the nature of God and those of the American Indian. She often observed, "I think that the Indians' concept of a great spirit brought them consciously nearer to the Creator than the Christian's concept of a personal God could ever bring civilized man to his God." So I had to read that in honor, of course, of Indigenous Peoples' Day tomorrow. Myrtle indeed taught that prayer and meditation are the foundational pieces that every single person who wanted to pursue unity should practice. She taught that she believed in the 12 powers. She and Charles developed the 12 powers ideas, which is really interesting to me. She wrote essays about, she was working on each one of the 12 powers, but in the research that's been done on Myrtle Fillmore's writings, they've only discovered that she wrote about 8 of the 12 powers. She left out strength, she left out wisdom, she left out, I believe she left out, what's the one in November? Release or elimination. She left that one out too. So I thought that was interesting. But she did write about zeal, so I'm going to tell you. She told Unity students that spiritual development required concerted effort. Lazy persons and those who preferred a life of ease to one in which they applied their talents and abilities diligently would not reap the benefits. Contact with God required alertness, awareness, and action. She acknowledged, "We don't usually accomplish many things worthwhile without steadfast and persistent effort, as well as prayerful contemplation of all factors involved." She also talked a great deal about joy. When I was a student at Unity Village studying, I thought it was interesting that the 12 spiritual powers did not include joy, but I think joy is a natural attribute with zeal. I mean, how can you be happily zealous without being overly zealous unless you can feel a spirit of joy? Myrtle also was a great advocate for children. She worked really, the first book she published was called Wee Wisdom's Way, which was aimed for children especially. And that led to the publication of a magazine called Wee Wisdom, which was America's oldest magazine for children. It's published for many, many, many decades. She was the editor. Her son Royal was also involved in the publication of Wee Wisdom. So in honor of Myrtle's joy of having of children, I thought I'd go back to an old tradition that we did many years ago and read my favorite Halloween story to you. So let your child come out and enjoy this. This is The Monster at the End of This Book, starring lovable old furry Grover. And Grover's saying, "Hello, everybody." And then the first page of the book shows again the monster at the end of this book, written by John Stone, illustrated by Mike Smollett, and Grover says, "Ooh, this is a very dull page. What is on the next page?" The next page. What did that say? On the first page, what did that say? Did it say there will be a monster at the end of this book? Oh, it did? Oh, I am so scared of monsters. Shh. Listen, I have an idea. If you do not turn any more pages, we will never get to the end of this book. And that is really good because there's a monster at the end of this book. So please, do not turn the page. You turned the page, he says. Oh, maybe you do not understand. You see, turning pages will bring us to the end of this book, and there is a monster at the end of this book. But this will stop you from turning pages. See, I am tying the pages of the book together with this big rope so you cannot, you turned another page. You do not know what you are doing to me. Now stop turning the pages. There, I, Grover, am nailing this page to the next one so that you will not be able to turn it and we will not get any closer to the monster at the end of the book. Oh, you turned another page. All right, all right, all right. Do you know that every time you turn another page, you not only get us closer to the monster at the end of this book, but you make a terrible mess. This will stop you from turning pages. A heavy, thick, solid, strong brick wall. I would just like to see you try to turn this page. And there's Grover and a pile of bricks all fallen down. Do you know that you are very strong? The next page is the end of this book, and there is a monster at the end of this book, and I am so scared. Please do not turn the page. Please, please, please. Shall we do it? Well, look at that. This is the end of the book, and the only one here is me. I, lovable, furry old Grover, am the monster at the end of this book. And you were so scared. I told you and told you there was nothing to be afraid of. I am so embarrassed. So, of course, I love this story because we all know the monster at the end of the book is ourselves, our thoughts, our error thinking, the little voice inside of us that tells us that we're no good and we're never going to be able to figure it out and we're not worthy and everybody else is going to go to heaven but me. All those little things. My hair looks funny, my nose is crooked, whatever it is that we tell ourselves. That's the monster thoughts. And so Myrtle teaches us all the time to quiet that voice and use affirmations of our worthiness, of our abilities, that God loves us just as we are, because indeed God created us in His image. God created you in God's image. What does that mean? That means that you are like God. It means that you have that little spark of the divine within each one of you. In God's image we were created, and God does not make junk. Another story I love. So we have to make a joyful noise. We have to remember indeed that we are here to be the light of the world, that we are here to help our light to shine. So Myrtle did a lot of amazing things in her life. the one I haven't touched much upon is the life of prayer that she led. You know, when Myrtle healed herself of tuberculosis and healed herself and her family so that they became more prosperous, they were thriving. One of her neighbors was experiencing difficulties and saw how much better Myrtle's family was doing and said, can you pray for me? And so Myrtle, of course, did. In fact, she says in this book, that she kind of went over there and coerced this person into joining her in prayer, because she realized that as long as that person held the belief that they were not worthy, they were not going to heal. And so she convinced them to pray with her and to affirm and to focus on the power and the strength of their own selves, the Christ within. She said that none of us is outside the presence of God, that we all have the Christ self within us that can bring about our healing. She formed a circle of people that would meet every week to pray together and hold the light together. And from that grew the whole unity movement. She started answering prayer letters from all over the country and then eventually all over the world. She hired people to help her in what became Silent Unity. I think there's something like 3 million prayer requests that are answered now every year by Silent Unity. And they answer prayer requests online, on the phone, written requests, whatever. We have had a prayer team here at Unity of Missoula for over 50 years. We have had some amazing results from our prayer work. In fact, I was being told today about somebody who was healed just because the person called and asked on Thursday for prayers. And by Friday, a miracle happened. I had the same experience. My cousin, Julie Jones, was very, very, very ill this last year. She's my younger cousin. She's in her 70s. I've never known her as particularly religious. She's never quite understood my beliefs, but she sends me things like necklaces with crosses on them for Christmas. And prayers, traditional prayers. And I finally said to her, Julie, this is not my belief system. And so she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how different Unity's approach to spirituality is. But we share a lot, and she has, even though she's younger and she's had a lot of respiratory disease. I think starting when COVID first started. I think she was one of the first people to get COVID without even knowing what it was. And this summer she got another respiratory infection, and she was taken to the emergency room by her friends because she was just horrid condition. She lives in LA. She said to me she had a temperature of 104 degrees for over 4 days. She was there in the hospital. They're trying to get control of her respiratory function, get her temperature to go down. They kept bringing her food to eat, which she couldn't eat because she kept telling them, I'm a vegetarian, please bring me vegetarian meals. And they kept showing up with eggs and bacon and burgers. And so she just hadn't eaten anything for 6 days. She's lying in a bed of ice packs with a helmet over her head trying to help her breathing. And she feels like she's dying. She is just so miserable. And she starts to pray. She's like, please, God, please send me somebody to help me. She's had a run-in with the nurse in charge of her little section of where she is. The nurse just keeps ignoring her and throwing her around and piling more ice on her and, you're fine, you can breathe, breathe, breathe. And Julie's just like, I'm desperate. And she said she started praying and praying and praying, please, God, send me somebody to help me or I'm going to die. She said she panicked in this machine with this hood, and she started waving her arm because she couldn't get up, she couldn't move. And she said, across on the other side of the ward was a doctor who looked over at her, happened to look at her and saw her desperately waving, came over to her and said, what's going on? And Julie's like, so the doctor took off the helmet. And Julie says, I can't breathe, I haven't been able to eat for 6 days, and I'm miserable. And the doctor says, well, why haven't you eaten for 6 days? And she said, I'm a vegetarian. They keep bringing me non-vegetarian food. They keep locking me up in this helmet, and I can't breathe, and I can't move, and I swear I'm going to die. And the doctor took one look at her and said, I'm moving you to my ward right now. So he took her across the hospital, put her under his care, and she started to get better. They brought her food she could eat. They did all kinds of treatment for her. They put her in rehab. When I finally talked to her, she was in rehab for just about a month, and she's home now, and she's doing great. She told me I could use her story, and I did not tell her that I'd put her on the prayer list here at Unity of Missoula. But I'm not sure if it was the day that she had the angel, she calls the doctor her angel, that showed up in the hospital room. But it sure wouldn't surprise me if that was not answered prayer, because we've created a lot of miracles through the prayers of Unity of Missoula, which I'm putting in a plug. We're going to do a prayer workshop on November 8th. If you want to learn more about how to pray the Unity method, or possibly even consider joining the prayer circle, please plan to stay after the service and participate in our prayer workshop. Maybe you too can be part of our angels of healing. And so I think we'll finish with a little bit of a meditation. If you can, and I'm giving a special shout out, hello to all of you out there on Zoom. Sorry I didn't acknowledge you earlier, but Zoom is totally foreign to Myrtle and me. I'm sorry. Let's take a moment, though. We're going to focus. Today's lesson from A Course in Miracles is, my holiness shines bright and clear today. So close your eyes if you're comfortable. Move your attention to your heart space, the space that you breathe into that shines so bright and clear. This is the space where your holiness abides. My holiness shines bright and clear today. Today I wake with joy, expecting but the happy things of life to come to me. I ask for only these happy things to come, and realize my intention will be answered by the thoughts to which it has been sent. And I will ask for only joyous things the instant that I accept my own holiness. For what would be the use of pain to me? How would grief and sorrow come to me if that insanity departs from me today and I accept my holiness instead? My holiness shines bright and clear today. I let this holiness shine outward and join with the bright, shining holiness of everyone else that I encounter. I know this holiness is not contained only in this church building, only in this community, but it is indeed a gift from all the people of the world. I choose to see the bright, shining light of holiness everywhere I look, knowing that as I do so, this indeed is the way to joy for all of us. My holiness shines bright and clear today. And I am so grateful that it is so. So continue to feel this light that is a part of you, that shines so bright and clear that no one else can make a mistake of believing anything else is possible. We breathe again together. Come back into this room that's filled with beautiful, bright, shining light. Back into our bodies, knowing that as we do so, we indeed are healed because our holiness shines bright and clear today. And we say thank you, thank you. It is so. Amen. So as we come back into this room, let us pray together our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We are one. All right, time for joining in a circle and singing our peace song.
Sanitizer on my hands. You're safe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was So at one point, there was a monk and a student, and the student had been working really, really hard to reach enlightenment, and he finally asked the monk, "Oh, dear one, if I keep on studying like this, how long is it going to take me to reach enlightenment?" And the monk looked at him and said, "Oh, probably about 10 years. And the student says, oh, 10 years. Well, what if I quit my job and really apply myself and work really, really hard? How long will that take?" And the monk looks at him and says, 20 years. And so the student kind of goes, "What? Why is that?" And he says, "Well, if you're so focused on the goal that all you're doing is studying and not living, you only have one eye to stay open to the opportunities of life around you. And so, of course, it's going to take you longer. So don't forget this week to stay not focused on the goal, but focused on the light of the people around you, and have fun."